Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP ELEONORA'S POLEBLADE build in Elden Ring. So this is an extremely powerful bleed weapon, somewhat similar to the Rivers of Blood. Now I'll be taking you through the full leveling guide where we want to have our stats and the equipment that's going to make this strong as frig. So I'm doing a level 150 build, but if you're not level 150, I would recommend getting your Vigor up to 30 first, and then getting the 12 Strength and the 21 Dexterity required to equip this weapon, and then also the 19 Arcane. But have a little bit of Endurance too as you're leveling, that way you don't have anything heavier than a medium roll. You want to be at medium load at all times. Ideally we would get our poise up to 56, so go with an armor that's going to put your poise to that 56 and just roll with that, because you want to be able to resist the attacks of enemies and not get staggered. So 56 is kind of the minimum amount you'd want. But as you're leveling, I would recommend getting a decent amount of mind, as you're going to want to be able to cast some spells or cast some incantations alongside having a good enough endurance to be able to run around, attack enough, as well as be able to equip armor that you want to wear. So yeah, get your stats up and then put the rest of the points into Arcane. This is going to help us get more bleed build up. So we have 82 blood loss build up, and that's just going to help with getting more damage in on the enemy. So I highly recommend going with that, getting your poison 56. As for our talisman, I'm using the Lord of Blood's Exaltation here. This gives you bonus damage whenever there's blood loss in the vicinity, alongside the White Mask, which also does the same thing. So I'd highly recommend having both of these. And you can go with other pieces of armor here. If you want, you can equip a second twin blade here and do jump attacks with the Raptor's talons, or the Raptor Black Feather armor, which will boost your jump attack power. And then we can also go with the jump attack, the Claw Talisman here, which will enhance jump attacks. But for the single-handed version with mostly spells, we'd want to have like the Cerulean Amber Medallion. You can swap this one out. It's the only one that's not super mandatory. But the Shard of Alexander is extremely powerful, alongside the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman for survivability. And a nice little bonus, throwing on the raw meat dumplings. Your Mimic can eat these and heal themselves, and they don't get poisoned. So they'll have a little bit more survivability using this. And I'm also using the Dragon Communion Seal because this is the lowest stats, and it's going to boost our Dragon Communion skills, which we do have a couple of them that we can use. Now, typically, when we go into combat, we want to have Flame Grant Me Strength buffed up first. This is going to increase the amount of fire damage and physical damage that we're doing. And on top of that, I also like to start with Swarm of Flies, and you can cast this a few times. You can cast it while moving around, and you can kind of backpedal. What's nice about Swarm of Flies is on especially some larger bosses, the blood loss buildup can be pretty powerful. As you can see there, we got 2 ticks of blood loss, and it was able to take out that Albinaric there. So otherwise, with Flame Grant Me Strength, you can go in with this skill and deal a ton of damage and pretty much take out enemies very quickly. So only needs 2 hits there to be able to take them out. That is very fast. So really nice that there's the Flame Grant Me Strength not on there. Or I guess the blood loss will give you increased damage too. So you typically want to be dealing bleed damage as much as possible, which is going to be easy with the high arcane stat we have there. And with that, it's going to boost your attack power. Oh geez, I almost got shredded there. Sometimes you get really unfortunate luck with them. But yeah, typically you want to jump in with this attack, because you can hit multiple targets with it, as you can see here. And you can follow it up with a second attack if you want to, which is nice. It kind of gives you that Bloodhound step-like movement, which is awesome. So you can attack once, then press the L2 again for a second attack with that little jump back. And yeah, the damage in this is pretty powerful. It deals bleed and also fire and physical damage, so very effective against a whole lot of different targets. Now you can swap out for something like a Yuji Katana with a Frost Imbuement if you go against any bosses that are resistant to bleed and fire, because that's just going to, or I guess any boss that are resistant to fire, because putting the Frostbite in will build up the Frostbite as well. But having a higher arcane is really focused on making the most of our bleed build. So yeah, the Swarm of Flies being a great incantation. I also, a little treat here, got the Bale's Tyranny, which I can show you, but the Rotten Breath is also a very powerful spell as well. Highly recommend using this against bosses. You can hold it down to keep casting it. And what's nice about the Rotten Breath is you can apply Scarlet Rot to the bosses, and then you can play a little bit more defensively and just focus on letting the damage do its thing. So that is one of the nice benefits of this build, is we want to have at least, yeah, I guess I didn't mention the Faith, but having 15 Faith is going to allow us to cast Flame Grant Me Strength alongside the Dragon Communion spell that we want to use there. So that's a lot of extra damage that we normally would not have. And Bale's Tyranny, if you have the DLC, this is a nice spell that you can get, and it uses pure arcane, so you're going to see it here. It's pretty crazy. So you can literally just nuke anywhere around you. Somehow he survived, but yeah, this is a very powerful skill, and one that you can kind of spam if you want to. So, see there, we have the high poise, so we was able to resist that. But typically for heavy, high health enemies, we want to start off with Rotten Breath, and then you can also start to cast the Swarm of Flies to be able to deal a little bit extra damage from a distance. So, very nice build here because we got a lot of ways to deal a lot of damage with between the Scarlet Rot and the Swarm of Flies applying bleed there, which you can see it staggers people really well. Some bosses actually get hit into the stagger, especially in the DLC. There's a couple bosses that are staggered really easily by the Swarm of Flies. So it's a pretty good spell to use because of the stagger, but also the easy blood loss buildup you can get from a distance because it hits a lot of times. And then you can just run in with it and just continue to attack them while they're getting staggered there. So that is the ELEONORA'S Poleblade build for an Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. If you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.